Here's Prescott. Just throws it deep as far as his arm can take him. He caught it! Parsons on the move. Parsons is in! Welcome to the big show, Tony Pollard. Oh, going deep. It is intercepted.
But I'm not going to say a word, but I will say one thing right now.
Prescott, touchdown. Good protection, and the pass wide open. Touchdown, Lamb.
Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Space Cowboy here. Welcome back to the channel with another video for you guys here today, and we have another Dallas Cowboys victory we need to talk about. Yes, the Cowboys start off the season 2-0 for the first time since 2019 as they take care of the Jets 30-10, the Cowboys' first victory over the Jets since 2007. It's been quite a bit, but gosh darn it, this Cowboys team looks really good. I understand it's only 2 weeks. We're going to go through the stat line, a couple of bullet points that I think the Cowboys can work on, and just overall how I'm feeling as we get further into this season. Before we get into it much further, if you guys could do me a favor, please hit the like button and also subscribe and hit that notification bell to show support and fight against the YouTube algorithm. Now with that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into some of the stats from today's game to get an indication of how things went for the Cowboys and the Jets. Starting off with Dak Prescott, he was 31 for 38, 255 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 1 sack, and he had a passer rating of 112.2. A very efficient day at the office for Dak Prescott. The only 2 blemishes that we had was the near pick 6 he had and the missed touchdown he had in the back end of the end zone when he was trying to get to Jake Ferguson when he had CeeDee Lamb over on the left-hand side. Now, I want to make it clear you're going to have hiccups along the way, and that's okay, but there are some things that we still need to clean up, and that's understandable, right? But I'm not going to get upset at Dak. Listen, 31 for 38, and he did all of the right plays that needed to be done. If he saw something that was quick in the flat, he was giving it out there. If he saw something down the field, he was doing it. Everything had a purpose, and he was just beautiful when it came to driving the football down the field and effectively leading this offense. Going to the rushing stats, Tony Pollard led the way, 25 carries for 72 yards with Rico Dowdle right behind him at 7 carries for 26 yards as the second leading rusher. The Cowboys had 44 attempts on the ground for 134 yards. Not the most effective day at the office considering how tough this New York Jets defense is. But the Cowboys got effective runs when they needed to. And more importantly, a lot of those volume stats came from when they were in the goal line or trying to run out the clock. And I'm not going to take anything away from these players whatsoever. In fact, if you go and watch the game, I, wasn't complaining whatsoever. Maybe aside from 1 or 2 drives, maybe 3, where it felt like, okay, we didn't need to go no huddle on the second drive as much, or, what's going on. But I had to go back and take a look because I think some of those drives came down to poor execution. One of them in particular was Peyton Hendershot on the trick play. If he cuts a little bit sooner, he gets into the end zone. Different conversation. But there was a blessing in disguise to that, and I'm going to hold that off in just a second. Going to the receiving game, CeeDee Lamb, what a hell of a game. 11 receptions, 143 yards on 13 targets. Pollard right behind him with 7 receptions, 37 yards, and with 8 targets. And then let me go to the 2 touchdowns by Jake Ferguson and Luke Schoonmaker. Welcome to the NFL. And I got to give a shout out to Jalen Tolbert, man, because he made some key grabs when necessary. And we saw Deuce Vaughn get a little bit of action, and that was exciting as well. Let's go ahead and let's move over to the defensive side of the ball. And yeah, man, what else is new? The Cowboys defense continues to wreak havoc on opposing offenses. only giving up 10 points in the last 2 games. The only blemish they had really was the slant pass where Malik Hooker just fell and allowed Garrett Wilson a free route to the end zone. And, speaking of Malik Hooker, he made up for that with an interception towards the tail end of the game. And looking at who got interceptions, you got, let's see here, we have, if I could pull it up here, Jaron Kearse, Trevon Diggs, and Malik Hooker. Congratulations to all those guys getting the job done there. And then another key thing, too, was sacks. The Cowboys had 3 sacks in this game. Micah Parsons got one at the beginning of the game. Actually, he got 2 sacks. He got one at the beginning of the game, another one at a crucial point in time, and I believe it was Osa Odigizua with another sack. So what a start for him, and I mean, he's definitely coming to his own in year 3, and so that's just exciting, to say the least there. Taking a look at the special teams unit, I have to give a shout out to Brandon Aubrey, man. Brandon Aubrey really did his job perfect the whole way through. 1 extra point, and you just keep in mind they did go for 2 on one of the touchdowns, which they did a good job of getting the extra point, or the 2 points there. But allowing Brandon Aubrey to get those practice kicks, I think, was vital, because right now we don't need to put up a shitload of points to win games. It is what it is. But going 5 for 5, his longest attempt was 55 yards, and he nailed it. That's great. Brian Anger, no problems there. He punted 3 times throughout the game, and he looked solid. So that was from the Cowboys' perspective. Let's take a look at the Jets end of things, and then we're going to go into the full-on team stats and then final thoughts. So looking at the stats here, Zach Wilson went 12 for 27, 170 yards, 1 touchdown pass, which was to Garrett Wilson, 3 interceptions. He was sacked 3 times, of course, with a passer rating of 38.1. Yikes. This is crazy. Zach Wilson was the Jets' leading rusher with 5 carries, 36 yards, and, if we're really going off of the running backs, Breece Hall, we shut down the Jets' rush attack exactly how I wanted to see how the Cowboys would do. If they could shut down this run attack, it was going to be a long day at the office for the Jets, and that's exactly what happened. 16 carries, 64 yards. Great job, Dallas. And then going to the receiving game, I mean, realistically, the only big play that they had was Garrett Wilson, who led the way with 83 yards, but 68 of those 83 yards came on 1 play. The second closest one was Tyler Conklin, and 5 receptions, 50 yards. So there is that. And on the defensive side of the ball, the only person that got a sack was Solomon Thomas, it looks like. So, cool. And then, look, we want to talk about this Cowboys defense getting turnovers. I mean, Micah Parsons, I thought he had a defensive touchdown, and holy shit, what a play. But this Cowboys defense continues to wreak havoc. Now, we'll just see how it continues, because we saw at the beginning of last year, when everything was in the right portion and motion of the game, this Cowboys defense was on the echelon of being the best in the NFL. I would argue to this point they are the best defense in the NFL until proven otherwise. But I'm going to save that for my final soliloquy. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at team stats really quickly. And let me make sure, because there was a clip that came up. This is crazy. The Cowboys had 26 first downs today. Very impressive. 16 were passing, 8 were rushing, and 2 first downs were from penalty. The Cowboys were 9 of 18 on 3rd down. They didn't have to go for it on 4th down, even though there were moments where I felt like they should have. The Cowboys ran, oh my God, this is unbelievable, 83 plays on offense compared to the Jets' 46. Nearly double, basically. That's unbelievable. You look and you scroll down, and we already went through the rushing stats. The Cowboys did have more penalties than the Jets, but it was whatever. The one alarming thing was the 2 of 6 in the red zone for the Cowboys. They had a lot of opportunities, but, they can clean that stuff up. Take a look at this. 42 minutes and 15 seconds of possession time for the Dallas Cowboys compared to the Jets' 17 minutes and 45 seconds. The Cowboys dominated this game. Don't let the 10 points fool you. And by the way, they shut out the Jets in the second half. With, but they did get a pair of field goals. But again, they didn't have to do anything. They didn't have to do anything fancy. They drove down the field. They got points when they needed. And the defense did its thing, man. I understand that we could have probably won this game by like 50 freaking points. But I think what a lot of us need to understand is we're here to win football games. We're not here to light up a scoreboard. And that's what I admire with Mike McCarthy was doing. We were in control of the game the whole way through. I felt like there were some players that were in there longer than they should have. But you know what? You need to get these kinks worked out, because if they aren't, that's going to be a problem. Now, you do have Arizona on deck this upcoming week. And I did say, in looking at how Arizona looked against the Giants, they just wet the bed. And I'll have to take a look at the film based off of how the Cardinals played, because they're a sneaky team. They're not a good team, but they're a sneaky team where they're going to make things interesting for the Cowboys. And we'll see how things go there. But, damn, man, this Cowboys defense looks unbelievable. I mean, this Cowboys team, from every side of the ball, is dominating all facets of the game. And I've never seen a Cowboys team do it on this level, maybe since the 2017. Now, it is just 2 weeks. And I am going to enjoy this win, but you know what? You need to go out next week, take care of business at Arizona, come back to Dallas, and we start the process all over again. I know I'm a bit, mellow when it comes to the fact that the Cowboys are 2-0. Oh, they beat the Jets for the first time since 2007. Yeah, that's cool. But I think there's an energy that we feel with this team. Micah is just humming with this defense, and they're reciprocating that energy. On the offensive side of the ball, sure, they're not capitalizing on every freaking play, but they did a much better job this go around. In fact, you led the team to 30 points. How am I going to complain about that? I think anybody that's complaining about a win when you completely dominated just because it wasn't 40-0 again doesn't mean that it's a problem. And I think a lot of people need to realize that we're here to win games. We're not here to put up flashy fantasy football stats. Because if I'm being truthful with you, there were plenty of times where I felt like, okay, if they converted all the times in the end zone, Dak could have probably had 5-6 touchdowns, but we didn't need to do that. A lot of the times it was, look, listen, here's where we're at. Let's run the ball, and we'll move forward. But now you got Arizona on deck. And, again, once we get a bit closer to the game, we'll talk about that. But I'm really curious to see how people approach the Cowboys this go-around. Oh, it was Zach Wilson. You weren't playing Aaron Rodgers. But I don't want to get ahead of myself because I know how this can be. But I think the Cowboys should handle business at Arizona. But then again, some wonky shit always happens in Arizona like we deal with the Jets. So, here's where we're at. We got to get some payback on the Cardinals. They're up on deck. Let's enjoy this win for the day and on Monday. And we're moving on to Arizona because we have our goals set a lot higher. So, that's my whole thoughts, guys. I think the Cowboys can do a little bit better on offense. Defensively, they continue to dominate. But I'm not sweating bullets right now. We still have not reached midseason form. So, there we go. I will catch you guys in the next video. Please make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and hit the notification bell. And have a good one. Goodbye.